All right, so I had asked you to do practice 6-1 for homework, and maybe what I'll do is I'll do 3 from each section. All right, so taking a look at practice 6-1, today is the 9th. You do have a short quiz later on today. And let's take a look. So number one, it says, find the value of sine of negative 720. The way we talked about doing this, let's take a look at the graph. 720, we'll have to get a little bit of room. 90, 180, 270, 360, 450, 540, 630, 720. These are all negative. And sine graph starts at 0. Remember, it looks like this. And it goes down to negative 1, 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 1, 0, right here. So sine of negative 720 is 0. I saw number 5 next. Number 5 says, what's the cosecant of 720? So what I would do is I would figure out what the sine of 720 is. It's 180, 270, 360, 450, 540, 630, 720 is right here. Remember, the sine graph looks like this. If this is 90 degrees, so it goes 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 0, right there, or 1800 there. So sine of 720 is 0, so cosecant would be the reciprocal, which would be undefined. Do one more, maybe number 6. Number 6, it says, what's the secant of 180? Well, secant's the reciprocal of cosine. So let's draw the graph of cosine. Cosine starts at 1, then it goes 0, negative 1. Then it comes back up, right? I don't know what that is. Just something like that. So if cosine of 180 is negative 1, secant of 180 would be 1 over negative 1. It would actually look like that there. Right? That's what the graph of secant would look like. So secant of 180 would be negative 1. Okay. Number 7, looking at the graph of sine, for what value of theta is it negative 1? And for number 8, when is secant negative 1? And then number 9, when is tangent 0? Okay, so let's draw these out. Sine, remember, looks something like this. It's 90, 180, 270, it's negative 1 right here. So the answer for this would be 270 degrees plus the period. We always write the period at the end. When is secant negative 1? Well, in order to figure out secant, we have to know what cosine looks like, or the values, and then we take the reciprocal. Well, remember, cosine starts at 1. It goes 0, negative 1, 0, 1, like that. So the graph of secant would look like this. The reciprocal of 1 would be 1. Reciprocal of 0 at 90 is undefined. Negative 1. Reciprocal of 0 is undefined, and 1. So when is secant negative 1? Well, right here, at 180, plus the period of secant. That's what that answer would be. And then when is tangent 0? Well, I know tangent 0 right at the beginning, right here. Between 90 and negative 90, it's sandwiched in between two asymptotes. Tangent looks like that. And you should know this by now. It should start looking familiar. So when is it 0? Well, it would be 0 at 0, and then plus the period of tangent, which is 180. Remember, everything's period's 360, except tangent and cotangent uses 180. Okay, so now let's finish up at the bottom. It's asking us to graph. And I just took a look at this quickly, and I saw 10, 11, and 13. So number 10, it says y is equal to sine. And we just want to know the graph from negative 90 to 90. It doesn't matter if we use x or theta. Number 11 wants us to graph tangent between negative 90 and 270, including these. And then the graph of 13, Taylor Swift's favorite number, wants us to graph secant between negative 360 and positive 360. And in order to do that, we have to figure out what cosine looks like. Just kind of setting things up. All right, so let's go ahead and graph these. Well, I know sine between 90 and negative 90. We've seen this enough now to know that sine looks kind of like an S. That's the difference between sine and cosine. And then it goes 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, like that. But we only want the graph between negative 90 and 90. So we're just looking at this graph right here. That's the only thing that we want to graph. And if you look at the answer sheet, that's what it looks like. The answer sheet kind of like zoomed in. It's using 30 and 60 degrees, but that's good enough for me. Tangent, well, we feel like we just did this. Number 11 we did for number 9. Tangent we know at 90 and at negative 90 it's undefined. And then every 180 degrees later it's undefined. And then in between it looks like a cubic function. Like that. So what does tangent look like between negative 90 and 270? Well, that would be this section right here. If you look at the answer sheet, that's what it looks like. And last but not least, secant. In order to graph secant, we need to know what cosine looks like. And cosine would start at 1. It goes 0, negative 1, 0, 1, like that. 0, negative 90, then negative 1, 0, 1, like that. That's what cosine looks like. In order to graph secant, secant's the reciprocal of cosine. So at 1, secant would be 1. At 90, it would be undefined because cosine is 0. Every time cosine is 0, secant would be undefined. And then negative 1, secant would be negative 1. 1, it would be 1. When you know the graph of secant, secant would look like alternating parabolas. Actually, you don't need the graph of cosine here. That's what the graph of secant would look like, and that's how you get it. It wants to know from negative 360 to 360, and this is exactly what the answers look like on your answer sheet. Exactly like that. All right. Make sure you have the quiz done. by midnight tonight. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.